You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we have another show lined up for you all. We're going to talk to an amazing person, Tracey Escobar. She has an amazing website, theredcouchmedium.com. Man, she does everything. I mean, she does services, products. She has a book. She has a podcast. We'll definitely get into all that. But first and foremost, I want to welcome her to the show. How you doing, Tracey?
I am great. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Man, it's a great honor to have you on. So, man, we're going to talk a little bit about what you do. But before we do that, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So again, Tracey Escobar. I live in the Dallas area, and I am a full-time medium. So I get to talk to dead people every single day, which is super weird for some, but exciting for me. So I've been through an amazing journey of my life, and I ended up on this side of healing, which I call it the other side of healing. So when you go through your healing phase, it's amazing how life can open up for you. And I've only been doing this work for the last 5 or 6 years. So it's exciting how my life has changed since starting doing this work.
So what inspired you to do what you do today, and how are you using it to build your community?
When someone passes away, is that it? And then began my journey of just being super interested in the afterlife and wanting to know more. Unfortunately, I was in a really constrained marriage. And then I went through my whole toxic phase in my 20s and 30s, raising children, etc. So I really couldn't put any focus into it. And I really thought you had to be special. And there was really nothing out there to help anybody who was interested in this kind of stuff way back then. It was not talked about. We barely had people starting on TV. And so in my 30s, I started watching like John Edwards, Sylvia Brown, and things like that. And I'm like, wow, I just wish I could do stuff like that. But it wasn't until 45, which is about 6 years ago for me, that I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of the rut I was in, of waking up every day like Groundhog Day, just kind of going to work, coming home, making dinner, cleaning the house, going to bed, right? I was stuck in this major rut. And I remember just waking up saying, God, there has to be more to life than just this. And looking at all my traumas that I had throughout my life. I'm a sexual abuse survivor. I'm like a toxic relationship survivor. And so I woke up one day and I wrote this, I got this affirmation in my head, and I kind of wrote it on my bathroom mirror. And it was basically, you are meant to be greater than you are. And although I was okay at that time in my life, I had 3 children who were growing up. They started to leave and go to college. I was divorced. I had a good career. But I just knew in my soul, there was just so much more to this life than I was doing. And I was meant to be something even greater than the surviving I was doing. So that started me on a healing journey. And I started meditating and journaling and just trying to figure out who I was. Well, the meditating part started to open up my psyche. I call it the pineal gland. And as I started meditating more and more and more, some weird stuff just started happening. I started to get prolific dreams. I started connecting more and more to the dad that I had lost when I was 19. And I started to kind of see the signs more. Back in the day, I didn't know what to look for. But then all of a sudden, like the red cardinals, I would see them all the time. And I started to associate those with my dad. And then all of a sudden, red started just poking out to me everywhere. I'd see like red flowers, and I would stop in my tracks. And for some reason, the color red just started to attract me. And at that time, just getting to know who I was, getting reconnected with my dad, who was in the spirit world, and just trying to have a relationship. Didn't know what that even looked like back then. But I knew I was getting connections. I knew the red meant something. I knew the cardinals meant something. And one day I was walking out in the woods. And at this time, these dreams were starting to happen more and more to me. And I was doing a dream journal every morning. And I remember stopping in the woods and just saying to my friend who I was with, I just had a red couch vision pop into my head. And how weird would it be if there was a red couch here in the middle of nowhere? And of course, my friend looks at me like I'm a little crazy. I'm talking some crazy stuff lately. I'm doing some crazy things lately. My friends really didn't know how to handle me back then. But that conversation happened. And not even a week later, I'm telling you, when spirit wants you to do this work and they're going to draw you in, they make stuff happen. And my washing machine, actually, it was my dryer, I think, that broke. It totally went out, And so the same friend and I had to go to a laundromat. We went to the laundromat just to get my laundry done. And we put everything in all the dryers and we decided to go for a walk. And the laundromat was really right in front of a lake. And so we said, well, let's just kind of go down to the lake and walk while the stuff is drying. And as we turned the corner of the building, there was an abandoned red couch right there in the pasture. And I knew at that moment that was my dad speaking to me. And that was my sign that I am on the right path. And this is the work that I can be doing. Right after that, I saw a psychic medium who gave us a reading and said in that reading that this is something that we could do. Me and my daughter actually did that reading together. And when she said that this is something that we could actually do, it just clicked on me. I've had this vision. I know my dad's talking to me. I know I've wanted to do this kind of work. And I just was validated, and I was just told I didn't have to be special, that I could do this too. So that's how it all started. I found the first metaphysical store I've ever been into. I found it here in the Dallas area. And then I just started taking classes and training. And here we are today, 6 years later, professional. I run my podcast now. I wrote my first book that was just released September 6th. That kind of talks about my story of trauma to healing to mediumship. And here we are today talking to you, Shemaya.
So, man, that's a very, very interesting take, because, a lot of people, it's a certain feeling when people talk about this kind of topic.
Yeah.
And because what I hear from you, because I try to be open with people.
Yeah.
What I hear from you is you just someone who's basically, you're exploring and you're finding something that works. For someone who doesn't truly understand what it is that you do, I guess my question would be, if I was that person to ask you your question, what makes you want to talk to dead people?
I get that so much. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever lost somebody, Shemaya?
Yeah, I'm sure we all have.
Yeah. So when you lose that person that's super close to you, so I lost a parent at a really young age, at 19. And to start questioning life at 19, right? And purpose, and why are we here? And is really death it? Is that it? Is that really it? Right? Lights out, done. I don't know. It's scared. Number one, it scared me. And number two, it set me on this mission of wanting to know more and wanting to learn, right? And I always said, if I had ever a chance to talk to him again, because my dad was taken tragically. So there's no closure, right? There's no goodbyes, right? He was just gone one day. And so I think that is what kind of led me to it. I think watching it on TV made it feel, okay, it's not too scary, right? And for me, that's why I think some people are kind of just meant to do this work. And maybe I was born to do it. I just didn't come into it until later in life. But I've never, ever, ever, ever been afraid of it, right? I've always had a curiosity, and I've always wanted to know more. What do we do when we die? Where do we go? Is this it? Do I believe in reincarnation, right? Do we come back? Why are we here? Like, why are we on this planet to begin with? And I know so many people out there just in that Groundhog Day and searching for purpose and passion. And that's exactly where I was at 45. I finally let it all catch up to me, and I was tired of suffering. And I know a lot of your listeners are out there suffering every day and wanting to know what's next and wanting to know there's something else out there. And I can tell you from my experiences, it took my very first experience, and I was hooked because I just plugged into the magic of the universe. I just plugged into the magic we have in this world. And some of the dreams that I would have, and to see them come true, it's phenomenal. And some of the things that I get that come true, like every day, I'm in amazement that I can't believe I'm doing this work, and I can't believe I'm plugged into this magic. And I wish everybody could see it and everybody could experience it. And so I guess that's what keeps me going. It took one time, and I have a really cool story if we have time to tell what that one time was.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So You know, I told you I was going to these metaphysical stores, and when I'm telling you, spirit led me here, I'm not even joking. So if you can picture me as a single mom, three semi-adult children, right? We're getting to the age where they're going off to college, making maybe 45 a year back then, 45,000, which we all know is not enough. So I didn't have a lot of money, right? And at that year, when everything started happening to me, I had come into a little bit of money. And for someone who had no money to come into money, wow, right? And so my best friend had just gone to London, England as an expat with her husband. And I said, wow, I have this little bit of money. I'm going to go on a month vacation and I'm just going to England. And let me tell you, I had never traveled before. I had to get a passport and everything. Again, I had nothing. I was just raising kids, living life, paycheck to paycheck, robbing Paul to pay Peter. That's where I was living at the moment. And this little bit of money came in. And so I booked a trip to England, one whole month. I'm going to go stay with my friend. Well, after that, I found that metaphysical store and I started taking like meditation classes, like little psychic development classes. And someone knew that I wanted to be a medium. You know, some people get into this metaphysical realm or have their spiritual awakening and they really don't know what they want to do with it. And so they'll take all kinds of classes to try to figure out. For some reason, I knew if I was going to get into this and I was having this spiritual awakening, I'm going to do mediumship. Like I lost my dad. I've lost certain people in my life and it's impacted my family greatly. I knew what I was going to do. So people at the center knew. And so they told me, well, Tracey, did you know right outside of London, there is a college called Arthur Findley. And it's a college where mediums from all over the world fly in and train for like a week at a time with all these mediums, like really high level mediums do training and their tutors. I had never heard of such a thing. And guess what, Shemaya? I had already had my ticket to London. It was already in the works. I had no idea. This place was maybe 30 minutes outside of the place I was staying where my friend was at. I'd already had the tickets bought. I had no idea. I had no formal training. And I needed someone to validate that I could do this. And on day 2 of the class, it's a really cool space. I was in the room with 17 people and the teacher, they call them tutors over there, asked if anybody never really talked to spirit before, never really communicated with the dead before. And I kind of raised my hand because at that point I wasn't sure. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I'm a newbie. So I raised my hand and she said, okay, I want you to come up to the top of the class. I was like, ooh, I got excited. I thought I was about to get a free reading, right? So I stand up at the top of the class and I'm just like, yeah, let's do this. And she tells me, I want you to close your eyes. So, okay, I'm closing my eyes. She goes, I'm right here next to you. And I want you to picture someone standing at the front door right there. I was like, oh no, she's going to have me do this in front of the whole class. And I'm starting to sweat. I'm perspiring. I'm starting to shake. But I just decided, okay, I'm just going to go with it. There's 17 other people staring at me in a room, in a classroom. And I did. I closed my eyes and she prompted me, who's at the door? And I said, there's a lady at the door. And she goes, okay, how did this lady pass away? And I said, and here I am thinking, Shemaya, that I'm making all this up. And I said, I started getting these butterflies in my stomach. I said, you know what? She had something to do with her stomach and her intestines. And she said, okay. She goes, who is this lady? I go, she's a mama. And then she goes, okay, well, what does she like to do? And I said, she loves to cook big dinners. She loves her family. She loves it when her family comes over because she's really lonely. So she loves when people comes over. And again, I'm just saying what's coming to my head. I'm using my imagination. I feel like I'm making all of this stuff up. Okay. And she goes on and asks me a few more questions, like her hobbies. And I said she loves greeting cards. For some reason, I just had greeting cards, like she made them personally. And so we went on for a few minutes. And then she goes, okay, I want you to open your eyes and I want you to scan the entire room and tell me, whose mom is it? I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm like, there is just no way that I can do that. But I trusted. I opened my eyes and nervous as all get out. I looked at every single person in the eye, all 17 people. And then I came back and locked eyes on with this lady. And I said, this is your mom. And the lady started having tears in her eyes and they were rolling down. She goes, yes, that's my mom. And then my tutor says, Tracey, give me one name that she'll know. And I said, Michael. And then the lady started to cry even more. And she goes, that's my husband. And he passed away a month ago. And at that moment, Shemaya, I knew that I could do it. And I knew I was a medium. And it just took self-development and trust from there on out. So that was my very first experience with the spirit world.
Wow.
right? Chills, right?
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
It is
I mean,
crazy.
this is probably the most interesting episode I ever had, because I never had a cycle on my show before. And I know our listeners are going to be like, what? What is this? But
people don't believe until you have an experience, you know?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think people have the right to believe what they want to believe, but I think it's very interesting. Thanks for what I'm hearing. But let's jump into your book, because your book, you talk about your life as well. You can be a medium.
Yeah.
When it comes to how you turn your pain into purpose, you kind of touched on that a little bit with the story you shared. In your book, You Can Be a Medium. What was some of the core things you were trying to get across in that writing?
So I wrote the book, number one, because of my experience of going through life thinking you had to be someone special, right? Going through my first, again, I lost my dad at 19 and I didn't get into mediumship until 45. And I just think so many years were wasted in my life where I could have been maybe healed sooner, right? I made different choices in my life. So it was really important for me to pick up that book. And that's why I chose the title, that you can be a medium. Like, first and foremost, if this is something you've ever been interested in and you've lost someone and you're trying to connect and you want to plug into the magic of it, anybody can do this if they have the determination and the will and the desire. So that's one piece of the book. There's kind of like three pieces of the book. But I wanted to make sure everybody understood that I'm human and I'm normal and I have pain and I was not perfect. And, you know, there was some sexual abuse in my younger age, which led to some fight or flight patterns in my life. So I was sexually abused by a man who lived in our home until I was 19. So from the age I was abused until 19, I was on fight or flight, right? So tons of stuff. I left home early. I had a really young pregnancy that I ended. So I wanted to make sure every reader knew, look, these are some of the choices I've made and the things that I've done. And I was still blessed to be able to do this work. So I'm not some guru that's had this perfect life, right? I've had an abortion, right? Once I got married, and it was a toxic relationship with someone who was bipolar. You know, I got addicted to pills because I was trying to numb. I was running, numbing, and hiding. Most of my adult life, that's what it was, you know, trying to raise kids, being disassociated half the time because I am just trying to survive in a marriage that was toxic for me, trying to raise kids in that whole situation. I got lost in work because that's where I found my validation, right? I had an affair in order to leave that relationship. So it was just really important for me to show my readers I am human, I am vulnerable, and putting all my stuff out there. Look at everything that I went through. And yet I made the decision, right? And I think this is really important to tell our people. When you are ready, no one can make you ready. But when you are sick and tired of being sick and tired and you are ready, you can change your entire life. And that's the point that I wanted to get across in the book. So I talk about all my years of pain, my coming up where I said, okay, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm going to get to know me. I'm going to, I pain. As long as you're on a self-development journey and trying to be the best version of you that you can possibly be, I believe that your purpose will come to you. You're going to find that thing that you're good at. You're going to find that thing that you're passionate about. So the book talks about that, the coming up, the finding your thing, doing the journaling, doing the meditating, doing your walking, just trying to connect to yourself. So the come up, right? The finding your purpose, that's probably in there too. I give exercises if you want to start being a medium. I tell you exactly how I do it. And in the end, it's like just what it's like after you find the purpose in your pain, after you walk the walk, after you live and walk the walk, right? Next, you do all the things and how healing can just change your entire life. And now I'm in the most healing relationship, the most healthy relationship I have ever been. I make the most amount of money at my corporate job than I've ever made. I have my mediumship job as well on the side and wrote my first book. I have my own deck of cards. So just going from being in the gutter, not feeling good about myself, to the come up to the success that I'm having, right? And it's all in the book, and I teach you how to do it and hopefully motivate everybody else to go find that passion. And especially if you've had pain, let's turn that pain into purpose. Let's give it a reason to live, right? And just flip it, shift the mindset just a little bit. And I promise you, your life will take off. It'll be better than you've ever had before.
So once again, we're listening to Refocus Radio, talking to Tracey Escobar. And this is something I gotta tell you. There's two things I appreciate in this interview. Even though I'm not into the whole like psychic stuff or whatever, I do appreciate your message. Message of hope and message of perseverance.
Yes.
Because I feel like the show Refocus is about letting all be able to speak.
Thank you.
Not just someone that you agree with. But I think what you're doing it out of your passion, and you're doing it because you want others to also turn their pain into purpose. And for that, I will say thank you for what you're doing. Even though I'm not quite on the train for the psychic thing. But that's what makes the show unique. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you.
My mission is to give people a chance to be heard. So it's crazy how time flies. It's already 25 minutes. It don't even feel like it's 25 minutes. But I will plug your website, theredcouchmedium.com. Those who are listening to you, I'll let you have the last words. What would you want our listening audience to hear from you?
Right now I get a lot of suicide. So I want to shout out just to everybody, just don't ever give up. And if you have a purpose for your pain, or if you're leading your purpose, do not give up. I think there's divine timing for everything, and just keep putting one foot in front of the others. And you are loved, and you are being watched, and you are being helped, and you are being guided. Just trust and believe, right?
Awesome. Well, once again, listen to I'm Refocus Radio, talking to Tracey Escobar. You can go to her website, theredcouchmedium.com. First and foremost, I want to say thanks again for being on the show today, and also being your true self.
Thank you.